What is up, Honors English 3? As my whiteboard says today, I miss you guys. Something fierce. Just being stuck at home this close to finals week, but we deal, we survive, we make it through. I know you guys will as well, with the hard work that you guys have been putting in all semester. So, I actually have two documents pulled up for this little demonstration. One is just the project outline that you have access to in Schoology. You have your own copy that you can fill in as much or as little as you like. Sorry if there's any weird noise in this. I've got my 2-year-old in the room with me. I just said as much or as little as you like. This is just a reminder that outlines don't have to be in complete sentences. As I'm working on mine, parts of mine will be complete and parts of mine won't. That's just how I normally work. It does say, additionally, you likely don't need to fill in every single space in this outline. There's no harm in planning too much in your outline and overdoing it, and then cutting down as you draft. Just a friendly reminder that each section, so to speak, of this outline will likely be about a page in your full document, double-spaced, like we talked about when I was there with you. The other document I have open, and I might recommend this for you as well, is your research log. I'm going to zoom in a bit on mine so you guys can see it a little bit better as well. I have not had a chance to read through yours yet, but that's one of my goals for later today, just to give some comments on what I see in yours too. Again, note that your full project only needs to cite 5 or more sources in total. I may or may not have mentioned that also includes the text that you have chosen to read from your writer. So it's absolutely fine to use one major source for each section, so to speak, of your project. That's totally fine too. And again, you don't need to fill in every entry. I didn't for mine. And in your full draft, you don't need to even use every source in your log. This is just about collecting a lot of stuff up front. So I think I collected something like 8 or 9 sources so far. I'm likely only going to use maybe 5 or 6 of them in my full draft as I get to working on mine. So far for Francis Bacon, I found a couple of really good, just background articles. I imagine a lot of you are using things like Britannica or encyclopedias or philosophy. That's great. I also found some specific for different phases of life for my writer as well. And that's what I recommend for you too. So I found some good stuff for his early life. This one's just biography.com. This would be probably a source that I scrap pretty early in the process. Another internet encyclopedia that does a really good job of summarizing his works. What else did I do? One specific about his work in the scientific revolution. And then I found a couple specific about his legacy. Notice that the first one's actually the Francis Bacon Society. So is it biased? Probably. But does that source do a special focus on his lasting legacy? Yeah. And again, one of your sources should be whichever text you're reading. I'll be reading a short essay called Envy. It's about 3 to 4 pages long, something like that. I'm curious to see how it connects with the themes of Othello. I want to see if I agree with what Sir Francis Bacon wrote about envy. So the phase that I'm on, and that you guys are heading towards as well, is actually outlining this thing. So, sections-wise, I did it just by each section of the project, a general introduction. This one kind of reads more like an essay introduction in the outline. A section on his early life. A section on his adult life, or your writer's, your thinker's adult life. Family updates, achievements, publications, etc. Again, you don't have to cover all of those things, just whatever is most relevant. A section on his death and legacy, and then the text synopsis. So this one is just the title of the text you chose. I might as well fill that in now. A 3 to 4 page essay within his collection. There we go. And I still need to read that one in depth. So maybe the last thing I do in my outline will be identify kind of the main ideas or conclusions that Sir Francis Bacon made in this text. This could be a good spot for some really good direct quotes, if you can identify your writer's thesis statement for whichever text you've chosen. And then it finishes with your own perspective on those main ideas or conclusions. So if I agree with what Sir Francis Bacon says, or if I found maybe a direct quote that I think is especially brilliant, I might laser focus on that. Maybe I disagree with some of his ideas. I can flesh that out as well. I should note that this last section, in my mind, makes probably the best candidate for what you present come the day of our final exam. The only section I'm going to fill in live is section 1, because I think I know exactly what I want to do for Sir Francis Bacon there. As I continue to read and research and use my evidence log, or use my research log, I am going to be looking for specific quotes or paraphrases. I'll cite their authors or article titles as I find them. Again, you don't necessarily need to use all 4 pieces of evidence. I just wanted to give you lots of space, if that, just to make sure that you could work with what you want on that as well. So, the section I'm on right now is general introduction. So, just like any other essay, I want to start with an attention getter. I just put attention getter strategy here. So, I haven't fleshed mine out in complete sentences, but I think what I should do is just walk through each step of the scientific method. Let's go back to freshman year, kind of identify the whole hypothesis, experiment, etc., etc. That's part of the scientific method. That's like the greatest lasting contribution that Sir Francis Bacon had. Might as well start with it. I need to write some background sentences to give some relevant context. This could be good information that I pull from some of my sources, especially the general sources at the top of my log. I need to bridge my attention getter and my thesis. Let's see, could be a thread between my thinker's life events, work, and legacy. I could say something like this for Sir Francis Bacon. Overall, I'm just going to refer to him by last name right here because I'll use his full name earlier in my introduction. Access to wealth and education allowed him to be one of the great early minds of the Enlightenment. Beyond the great strides he made in scientific thought, he also wrote... how do I want to finish this one? One thing I like to do with thesis statements is read them back just to make sure that it makes sense. Overall, Bacon's access to wealth and education allowed him to be one of the great early minds of the Enlightenment. Beyond the great strides he made in scientific thought, he also wrote philosophically about a great many subjects. I like that a lot, actually, because it does draw a thread between his life events. One thing I've been finding in my research is that he was born into wealth, had very great access to education early on. That was really the key for him to live a philosopher's life. I doubled back to scientific thought, his life's work. I also just wanted to include the fact that he wrote about a whole bunch of subjects as well. In fact, the one that I'm reading, Envy, is not a scientific subject at all. It's a philosophical one. So I want to make sure I include that there. And I'll flesh that out more as I write about his life. For my background sentences, I recognize I'm getting a bit long here. I just want to make sure that I can create a quick bridge here. What do I want to say right here? I could say something like, the scientific method, throw that in quotes, many quintessential ideas in education today found its origins in the Enlightenment. I'm going to put the time frame here. Friendly reminder, outlines don't have to be in complete sentences, so I'm just leaving myself a note right there. One of the... I'll leave myself another note for the sake of time. Use this space to introduce Sir Francis Bacon, both as an early player in the Age of Reason and as one of English literature's, or British literature's, greatest non-fiction writers. Something like that. Obviously, and I'll need to flesh that out more as I draft, but I think I'm off to a pretty good start on how I'm going to frame my entire paper. Keep in mind, I am writing this alongside of you guys. I'm also largely stuck at home, so it might be a while until I finish my outline, and certainly when I finish my full draft, but I will do my best to post updates along the way, if that's helpful for you. So, again, in today's lesson, you can absolutely keep working on research if that's what you need. Otherwise, feel free to use your research to start fleshing out your full outline. This outline itself is not due until the end of next Tuesday. We've got quite a bit of class time to work on it in the meantime. Peace.